More than any other musical genre, it seems like the world of rap is a particular magnet for tragedy. Sadly, all too many stars of hip-hop have died far too early, many at the peak of their fame and influence. Here are a few of the rappers who died tragically. The Notorious B.I.G, Biggie Smalls, Christopher Wallace, whatever you want to call him, there's no doubt he was by far the dominant figure of the 1990s East Coast rap world. Biggie's two studio albums, 1994's Ready to Die and 1997's Life After Death, sold many millions of copies and rank among the most acclaimed hip-hop albums of all time. He had a hypnotic, eloquent, and inimitable flow, which brought to life many canonical, catchy, and catchphrase-generating smashes like Juicy, Big Poppa, Hypnotize, and Mo Money, Mo Problems. And that's to say nothing of his affiliation with Junior M.A.F.I.A or his star-making work with close friend and producer Sean Puff Daddy Combs. After leaving a music industry event in the early hours of March 9, 1997, Wallace was riding in the passenger seat of a Chevrolet Suburban when another vehicle drove up and opened fire. While no one was ever arrested or held accountable for the killing, the Los Angeles County Coroner's Office released their autopsy report 15 years later. According to the document, Wallace was shot 4 times. When Wallace arrived at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, he was suffering a cardiac arrest event related to the shooting trauma and was soon pronounced dead. The Notorious B.I.G was just 24 years old.
We look at death from a selfish side, like, that guy died, oh, it's so sad. Why is it sad? He's away from all of this bad stuff that's here on earth.
In the 90s, the East Coast had Biggie Smalls, and the West Coast had Tupac Shakur. After cutting his teeth with Digital Underground, Tupac went solo, releasing 4 classic albums during his lifetime that showcased not only his guttural voice and his hard-as-nails views on the world, but also his versatility. Shakur released tons of music, but expressed himself with acting too, appearing in movies such as Juice, Above the Rim, and Poetic Justice. On September 7, 1996, Shakur went to Las Vegas to see boxer Mike Tyson fight Bruce Seldon at the MGM Grand. After a scuffle with a gang member in the casino, he got into a BMW with Death Row Records boss Suge Knight. On the way to a club where Tupac was to perform, a white Cadillac pulled up alongside the BMW, and a still unknown assailant fired 13 rounds into the car. 4 of them hit Shakur. At a local hospital, the rapper endured several life-saving surgeries, including the removal of a badly damaged lung, and was placed on a ventilator and respirator. After a brief resuscitation, Shakur succumbed to his injuries and died 6 days later. He was 25. After hip-hop had ventured into more psychological, introspective territory courtesy of the stars of the 2000s, Nipsey Hussle brought back a lot of what made gangsta rap so captivating in the 90s. A former member of the Rollin' 60 Crips gang in Los Angeles, he documented and worked through those experiences on a slew of mixtapes, a couple of dozen singles, and just 1 studio album, Victory Lap, a platinum seller and Grammy nominee for Best Rap Album. Hussle was just as devoted to ending LA's violent street culture as he was to documenting it. The rapper owned a strip mall located in the somewhat rough Crenshaw Boulevard area where he'd grown up, and he had plans to build homes and stores to reinvigorate and change the area for the better. The area was home to Marathon, Hussle's clothing store, and while standing outside of it one day in March 2019, he was killed in a drive-by shooting. The rapper and anti-violence advocate was 33. Just as rap was earning mainstream appeal and approval via a slew of talented but widely palatable 80s acts, along came NWA. The group virtually invented gangsta rap, a subgenre that detailed the shocking and often violent world of inner-city Los Angeles, in which the group's members were born and raised. NWA brought a new kind of storytelling and a fresh point of view to popular music with albums like Straight Outta Compton, and also launched its members to stardom, and Eazy-E was among them. Otherwise known as Eric Wright, the gang member turned musician possessed NWA's most distinctive voice and contributed to some of the group's most iconic works. After an ugly feud split NWA in the early 90s, Eazy embarked on a highly successful solo career. In February 1995, Wright, who'd long suffered from asthma, checked into the intensive care unit of Los Angeles' Cedars-Sinai Medical Hospital. He assumed he was suffering from a worsening bout of asthma, but he was wrong. Shortly after, doctors diagnosed the rapper with AIDS. 10 days later, complications from the disease took his life. Eazy-E was 30. In 2010, Mac Miller made an auspicious debut with the mixtape Kids when he was just 18 years old. That spawned the hit Knock Knock, and in the following year, his first studio album proper, Blue Slide Park, topped the Billboard album chart. For the rest of the decade, Miller was among the most popular and prolific voices in hip-hop, producing for other rappers, starring on his own TV series, and releasing 4 more albums and many singles. But Miller's life was sadly struck down right at the peak of his fame. On September 7, 2018, a friend found Miller in his home in California's San Fernando Valley. Paramedics arrived to address what was believed to be a cardiac arrest and pronounced the rapper dead at the scene. A toxicology report from the Los Angeles County coroner ruled that Miller died from an accidental overdose of cocaine, alcohol, and the powerful painkiller fentanyl. He was just 26 years old. There were plenty of pop-savvy R&B trios around in the 90s, but TLC stood out from the rest, thanks to the distinct and charismatic personalities of its 3 members. The L in TLC was Lisa Left Eye Lopes, the rapping complement to her singing cohorts T-Boz and Chili. Left Eye performed memorable, acrobatic raps on almost all of TLC's many hits, including on Ain't Too Proud to Beg, Waterfalls, and No Scrubs. Lopes was also outspoken and assertive off the stage, and famously spoke out against the exploitative nature of the music industry on an episode of Behind the Music.
This is how a group can sell 10 million records and be broke. And everyone, get ready to do your math.
Lopes maintained a home in rural Honduras and was driving an SUV while visiting the country one day in April 2002. Tragically, she lost control of the vehicle and it ran off the road and turned over multiple times. There were 7 other people in the SUV, including Lopez's 2 siblings, the R&B trio Egypt, and 2 producers working on Lopez's documentary. All were treated at a hospital and released, but the accident killed the TLC rapper. Lopes was 30 years old. Back in the early 80s, the Beastie Boys were a group of New York rockers so taken with the city's burgeoning rap scene that they abandoned their punk rock sound to become a hip-hop group, but kept their hard rock backbone. Adam Horovitz, Mike Diamond, and Adam Yauch exposed suburban audiences to rap for the first time, and in doing so, became one of the genre's earliest and most successful acts. But tragedy struck in 2009 when Yauch noticed swelling in his throat. Tests revealed this swelling to be the result of a cancerous tumor in his salivary gland. The band canceled a slate of concert dates and delayed the release of the album Hot Sauce Committee Part 1. In a YouTube video released at the time, Yauch reassured his fans that there was nothing to worry about.
And they've caught it early and it's not anywhere else in my body, and so that's the good news.
Sadly, however, he didn't recover. 3 years later, Yauch passed away from complications of cancer at the age of 47. Horovitz and Diamond paid tribute to their friend when the group was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2012. Born in Jamaica and raised in New York, Dwight Myers took on the stage name Heavy D, and with his group The Boys, became the first act signed to influential R&B and hip-hop label Uptown Records. With and without the collective, Heavy D scored a slew of top-selling albums and pop radio-friendly hits, and did a fair bit of acting too, making appearances on a wide number of 90s sitcoms, chief among which was The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He also scored a recurring role as the operator of a restaurant frequented by the main characters in Bones. In November 2011, however, Myers collapsed at his Los Angeles home, and paramedics rushed him to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. The hitmaker died in the hospital hours later at the age of 44. A month later, a Los Angeles County coroner investigation revealed the cause of Heavy D's sudden and mysterious death: a pulmonary embolism brought on by deep vein thrombosis. A blood clot had likely formed in his leg during a long-haul flight from London to Los Angeles, and it migrated to a lung, which held back blood flow and put pressure on his heart. Big Punisher's career was only getting started when his life came to a tragic end. After his first verse in 1995 on a couple of Fat Joe tracks, Big Pun released his debut studio LP, Capital Punishment, in 1998, and a year later, he was all over Collective Terror Squad's The Album. Big Punisher also had a series of solo smashes like I'm Not a Player, It's So Hard, and How We Roll, and crossed over to pop radio with guest spots on Jennifer Lopez's Feelin' So Good and Joe's Still Not a Player. Born Christopher Rios, Big Punisher was a large man, with his size reflected in his stage name, and that, sadly, is what led to his fatal health problems. The rapper started to rapidly put on weight in his late teens, and press materials claimed he ended up around 400 pounds. In the summer of 1999, he lost 100 pounds via a Duke University program, but left early and returned to old habits, and the weight soon returned. In February 2000, authorities were summoned to his hotel room in White Plains, New York, after being told that the rapper was struggling to breathe. He was transferred to a hospital where he was later pronounced dead. Rios weighed 698 pounds at the time of his death, and his heart had expanded to 3 times that of a normal, healthy size. Big Punisher was 28 when he died. Staten Island's own Wu-Tang Clan is arguably the greatest collective in rap history, boasting 9 full-fledged members who each brought their own unique contributions to the enterprise. They're also responsible for all-time classics like Enter the Wu-Tang 36 Chambers and Wu-Tang Forever. Russell Jones, otherwise known as Old Dirty Bastard, is likely the most famous Wu-Tang rapper, what with his distinctive vocal range, wild style, and flair for both the dramatic and comical. Also known by the stage names Dirt McGirt, Osiris, and Big Baby Jesus, ODB shined on Wu-Tang standards like Protect Your Neck, along with his solo singles such as Got Your Money. In 2004, however, ODB was at a New York recording studio working on his 4th solo album, Osiris, when he suddenly collapsed without warning. By the time medical authorities arrived, the rapper was already dead. A few weeks later, the NYC Medical Examiner released the results of an autopsy. A toxic combination of cocaine and tramadol, a prescription painkiller, had caused a heart attack. ODB died just a few days before his 36th birthday. If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, please call the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Administration's 24/7 National Helpline at 1-800-662-HELP. That's 1-800-662-4357.